queens, who were assassinated by the monarchy. When monarchies ruled civilization, there was no greater offense than defying the king. This goes for all social classes, commoners, aristocrats, and even the most powerful women in society, the queens of the kingdom. Female monarchs, in particular, had to tread lightly in the royal court. Queens may indulge the wealth and glory that came with royalty, but ideally, they should remain compliant to the wishes of male monarchs. Otherwise, anyone in the monarchy can order for their murder. Berenice III of Egypt. Berenice III ruled as Queen of Egypt without a consort in 81 BCE. She ruled solo for 6 months, but she was eventually forced to share the reign, and marry Ptolemy XI. Her new husband, however, wanted to usurp all the power to himself, and in true tyrannical fashion, he decided to assassinate her. Berenice previously served as co-ruler with her first husband, and uncle, Ptolemy X, and her father, Ptolemy IX. After their deaths, she assumed sole queenship of Egypt. It turned out that she also won the adoration of the public, while she was at it. The Roman emperor soon caught wind of this, and disapproved of her solitary reign. Reluctantly, she agreed to marry her stepson, Ptolemy XI, under the condition of joint rule. 19 days after they tied the knot, Ptolemy XI arranged for Berenice's murder. He felt it was no use to share the kingdom with his wife. What he did not take into account was the public's favoring of Berenice. Her assassination sparked a public uprising to avenge their queen. Ptolemy XI was lynched by her angry populace a few days later. Amistris. Amistris ruled Heraclea for 5 solid years, but she knew it would not last. After an effective tenure as queen, she would eventually have to resign the kingdom to her heirs. That still did not stop her sons from taking her life, before she could even make the decision to retire. She was the guardian to her sons, Clearchus and Oxyarchus. They were too young at the time to succeed their father, but the time was now approaching for them to come of age, and replace her. While she was accepting of her inevitability, her sons grew to be impatient, and power-hungry. Clearchus and Oxyarchus arranged for their mother to be drowned at sea. Galswintha of Neustria. Galswintha was always a footnote in the saga of her more infamous sister, Brunhilda, the queen who caused multiple wars, and the deaths of 10 kings. Yet, it is important to note how it was Galswintha's assassination that enabled Brunhilda's actions. This served as the root trigger that started over 40 years of warfare in the Frank kingdoms. All this chaos started when Galswintha's husband conspired for her murder, so that his mistress can take her place. Galswintha and Brunhilda were the daughters of Athanagild, the Visigoth king of Spain. Athanagild arranged for them to marry 2 brothers, who each ruled their respective kingdoms. Brunhilda matched with an ideal husband, in the charming King Sigebert I of Austrasia. And Galswintha, on the other hand, ended up marrying someone far less pleasant, Chilperic I of Neustria, a known womanizer, who bedded and impregnated many women. Galswintha begged her father to have her return home. A year after the union, Chilperic's favorite mistress, Fredegund, talked him into murdering Galswintha. Chilperic jumped into marrying his co-conspirator shortly after they killed the queen. When Brunhilda found out about her sister's murder, she persuaded Sigebert to go at war with his brother. This kick-started the long-winded conflict between Neustria and Austrasia. Roxana. Roxana was the daughter of a Bactrian noble. Alexander took a passionate liking to Roxana, after he seized control of her father's kingdom. Alexander took her hand in marriage, and also attracted the familial affections of Alexander's mother, Olympias. Her mother-in-law would grant her protection in her time with the Alexandrian Empire. In 323 BCE, Alexander died of illness. Roxana needed to quickly secure her son's succession to the fallen conqueror. In order to eliminate the competition, she arranged to murder Alexander's other widows, Stateira II and Parysatis. When Alexander the Great died, it was a bloodbath race to his throne. His wife Roxana was a power player in the race, having fought and killed ruthlessly for her son's claim to rule. She soon fell short when she and her son were murdered, just when it seemed like most of the competition were gone. Inés de Castro. Inés was a lady-in-waiting when she attracted the affections of Prince Pedro I. At the time, the prince was married to her cousin, Constanza, with whom he bore legitimate heirs to the throne. Pedro's heart, however, was passionately devoted to Inés. When Constanza fell ill, and succumbed to death, it yielded the path for Inés and Pedro to openly indulge their relationship. Pedro secretly married Inés without notifying the King of Portugal, and Pedro's father, Alfonso. They had 4 children. Alfonso learned of Pedro's marriage through his 3 counselors, who noticed how Pedro became closer with Inés' brothers. The counselors cautioned that Pedro's children with Inés could block Pedro's legitimate heir from rightfully ascending to the throne. Their solution was to kill Inés. The counselors stabbed her to death, after she bravely appeared and pleaded before the king. After Alfonso died, Pedro became king. He first ordered for the hearts of 2 counselors to be ripped out of their bodies. After publicly disclosing his marriage to Inés, he posthumously declared her the lawful Queen of Portugal. Pedro organized a lavish funeral. Some say he even had Inés' corpse retrieved and sat on the throne. Aishvarya of Nepal. Queen Aishvarya was not a popular woman. Compared to the well-mannered King Birendra, the queen was forceful, greedy, and openly corrupt. She was also adamantly against democracy. Many identify her as the one who called the shots in the family. She did not, however, expect such a drastic karma like the assassination of her family. Prince Dipendra brought home a girl who not only half Indian, but also belonged to a rival faction. Aishvarya refrained from giving them her blessing. At a family function, Prince Dipendra reportedly went on a drunken shooting rampage. He shot the queen, the king, his 2 siblings and 7 other family members before killing himself. Elizabeth of Bosnia. Elizabeth had no male heirs with her husband, King Louis I of Hungary. After Louis died, Mary, Elizabeth's daughter, was crowned queen at age 11, with Elizabeth as regent. They ruled for 3 years until 2 prospective usurpers entered the picture. Sigismund of Luxembourg intended to marry Mary, while Charles III of Naples desired to overthrow her. Charles invaded Hungary, deposing Mary to take the throne himself. Intending to restore Mary's title, Elizabeth invited Charles over for a visit one day, only to assassinate him. She successfully restored Mary to the throne, until Charles's supporters returned the favor. Charles's supporters, the noblemen John Horvat of Horhany and John of Palisna, seek vengeance. They ambushed Elizabeth and Mary's carriage ride to kidnap them. Elizabeth begged her captors to spare her daughter's life. They agreed, but not until they inflicted Mary with the trauma of strangling her mother in front of her. Anula of Anuradhapura. Anula is infamous in Sri Lankan history as the queen who murdered her husbands and slept with multiple working-class men. After she exhausted her antics, the court organized her karma by burning her alive. Anula rose to power after marrying the rebellious king, Koronaga. The union that lasted for 12 years, but Anula was actually engaging other business on the side. She especially fell enamored with Shiva, her palace guard. Intending to replace the king by her side, she poisoned Koronaga, and made Shiva her consort, thus kick-starting her streak of murders. After 3 years, She also poisoned Shiva. Rinse and repeat with the next 2 men she made her husband. Each man she killed kept the throne warm for his next replacement. While married, she was also said to have had sexual affairs with multiple palace guards. She poisoned her final consort, and it was then that she decided to rule Sri Lanka on her own. This was cut short when her solitary rule received backlash from the public. Tissa, the son of Koronaga's original successor, deposed Anula and enforced her judgment day. Tissa had her trapped in the palace, where she committed her crimes, and ignited it on fire, setting her live body ablaze.
I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do check out our other videos, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit the like button.